uh, in this fatherhood journey? Where are you at today?
I think today I decided to quit. In my heart, I quit. In my heart, I was like, I'm done. I'm done. These kids gonna have
Man,
to fend for themselves. You know, I didn't
yeah.
have a dad. I'll turn out good.
This is From Dad with Love. We talk about fatherhood, all the aspects of it, the good, the messy, the hilarious. And today I'm excited because I got J'onte Ausler on the call with me today. And, this is a dad who really is, I think, navigating different elements of fatherhood, especially when you think about raising young boys and, a filmmaker at that. And so we are going to be talking a little bit about the film that he's got coming pretty soon. And J'onte, I want to welcome you to the show, man. Glad to have you on.
No doubt. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. So, as we get started, some of a nice little grounding question is really centered around, what fatherhood is. It's a daily task. It's a monthly, yearly. It never stops. Where are you today in fatherhood, uh, in this fatherhood journey? Where are you at today?
I think today I decided to quit. In my heart,
Ah,
I quit. In my heart, I was like, I'm done. I'm done. These kids gonna have
man,
to fend for themselves. I didn't
yeah.
have a dad. I'll turn out good.
Straight off the bat, just like that. I quit. I'm done.
Nah, I'm done. Nah,
No, but
nah,
no, man. What's
nah.
it like in the home? What's it like in the home?
Man, it's always ebbs and flows, man, and each kid needs something different, and so I find myself reaching inside of me for different parts of me that that the boys need. I got all boys too, by the way, all four
Got
of
you.
my
How
boys.
how old are they?
I got 23, 19, 16, and 14.
Mm, got a squad.
Why?
So how would you say your kids would describe you right now?
I think it depends on which kids you talk to. I think it
Okay.
depends on which kid you talk to, man. I think one of them might tell you I'm cool. One of them might tell you, I'll be tripping a little bit. But I hope that all of them say, man, my dad got my back. Most
Yeah.
importantly.
Yeah. Well, I know you mentioned like in the intake, that there is no rule book. I think most of the dads that I've talked to, we kind of had that same vein of like it's not a playbook, not a rule book on how you do it. What does that mean for you as you are raising kids and having young boys to not have a rule book? What's that like? What's it mean?
Man, I think it means, man, you constantly have to be talking to a higher power. You constantly have to be assessing the situation, analyzing yourself. You constantly have to be growing as a person. Cause I
Right.
feel like some stuff you take the fatherhood, man, since you didn't learn and there wasn't no rule book, might not be necessary for the development of your kids. And so,
Yeah.
you be passing out some bad habits and you didn't even know it.
Has there ever been, I mean, are there moments you could recall where you're like, man, I probably either shouldn't be passing this down, or you just like, nah, I'm trying to do something different about it, or what?
Definitely, man. I think one of the big thing is how I respond in temperamental situations. Like when my own button is pushed, how I respond.
Yeah.
And I think being hot headed in times where my buttons was pushed, I could have indirectly or directly passed that down to one of my one of my little guys because I see it. I see it in 'em.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like that's so delicate, man, because sometimes you can't see what you pass down until it shows up later, right? So you don't even know.
Yeah.
We don't know what we passing down. I mean, we can have a sense, but sometimes you just don't even know what you're passing down unless your kid happens to show you, like turn the mirror to you in a moment and you're like, damn, that's me. Like, then I think that's when you can clearly see like, oh man, I passed that down. But like it's definitely something that you got to think through, try to be intentional about in the moment. But sometimes, man, we don't always get to see that, you know?
Right, right. Until you getting calls from the teacher, until until you getting kicked out of school, or until he's cutting up.
Yeah. So so then like when you don't have a book, because we know one's not out there, how do you balance like your own internal instincts versus other people's advice on how to, how to raise kids or young men?
So that's a great question, man, because I feel like the people that I get advice from are the trusted people around me. The people that I might build with, people that that I feel like is like family. So that advice sometimes I just weigh with who I am as a person. And so when you get the good feeling about some advice and it feels like it aligns with who you are, then boom, you keep that. And sometimes if it might not align with who you are, but who you want to be. And so, I keep that too.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think one of the hard things for me is like I might get advice from others, but it's hard for me to implement the advice. And I say that because like I'm battling my own like instincts, or you said it earlier, like triggers, right? And so like you get some good advice on like, yeah, communicate with your kids, have open communication. Um, One of the last interviews I had, the person on was just really talking about like how, you know, other advice comes through, and if you're not aware of your triggers, right? If you're not aware of your triggers, then you can't necessarily show up the way you want to. And so for me, I'm like, man, I get the advice, but it's hard because I'm triggered by other things that the people who may be giving me that advice, they may not be triggered the same way, but the triggers for me become like a block, you know? Do you find it where you are getting sound advice, but the implementation is still a little hard to do?
Yeah, definitely. Because it's easy to go with what you know. It's easy. It's harder to change and become something different. Implement a new philosophy, a new behavior. It's easier in times when you're triggered to go back to what you know, the part of your subconscious. So you have to. It's a whole rewiring process sometimes. A whole being conscious to change. Like, okay, I normally do this when this happens, but
Right.
now I'm going to do this when this happens, even though I know choice B is probably better for my development, probably better for me being a father or the person that I want to become.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned this idea of like time over accuracy, I think is what was your words. And so trying to figure out like how when you've chosen presence, like to just be present with your sons versus like getting it right. Is there moments where you kind of had to say like, man, I'm just trying to be present, regardless of like, I don't know the answer. I don't know how to, to do this the right way. I'm gonna just do it and be present. What does that look like for you?
I got a son playing AAU basketball, and my skill set in basketball, that wasn't my first sport, but I feel like the main thing I could do is show up. Whether it's me taking him to go play basketball, me taking him to go to somebody else to go train, or me taking him, making sure he gets to all his practices, making sure I can provide what he needs to become a better player. I'm there. Whatever I need to do, whatever support he needs that I can give him with my limited knowledge, I'm there.
And is that something that you experienced?
No, no, not at all. I didn't have a biological, but I did have a stepfather who stepped up, and but when it came to like those little small particulars, like being there in that time, I probably fell through the cracks when it came. I was a child that probably fell through the cracks with that time.
Yeah, and I'm asking because it sounds like you're talking about when you choose to be present, right? And like show up. And if you can't give your son the skill around basketball, like you're gonna look for the coach that can and do the resources. And so my question is really centered around like, is this something that happened to you and you're passing it down, or is it something that didn't happen and you're like, because it didn't, I want to do the opposite?
The latter, yeah, because it didn't, man, I'm gonna make sure I do the latter.
Yeah. And what impacts come with like not doing that you think will
Well,
show up?
well, then you just don't know, right? You don't know what that kid could have became if he just didn't have that extra push or somebody being there saying you could do it or being a fan of that child. Like what you never know. And I don't want that on my conscience. When I'm done, when my kids is grown, at least they can say, okay, at least I can say, I tried all I did it.
Yeah.
I was there, I took you to the practices. I gave you love. I helped you. I told you I was your biggest fan. I told you you could do it. I believed in you, So at that
Yeah.
point, either it's bad luck or it's you.
So with teens, because I
That sounds hella cold.
no, hey,
that
he
sound
said,
that sound cutthroat.
hey,
Hey, listen,
I didn't
you
did
are a
A B C
loser
D.
because of you. You are smoking crack because of you, buddy.
Oh my god. He said, hey man, I'm washing my hands because that
Yeah.
I gave you everything. Nah, but in all seriousness, um, you got teens. I ain't got teens. So like, what is it like to be present with teens, man?
Man, it's a mixed bag, man, because they start to feel like you're starting to feel like I'm a man a little bit in them teens. Authority, you start coming at authority a little differently. You start wanting to be your own man. You start thinking you know everything. And so um now it becomes sometimes there'll be battles within where you're getting pushed back from the very thing that you created and you want the best for it, but they don't recognize it. They see you as an op sometimes because they want to do things this way and they don't want to they don't even want to listen. So yeah, I think that it becomes an inner struggle sometimes for you to really be patient and remain there and not treat them back like an op
Hmm.
because you are the parent. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we had talked about this, man, when we had sat down, and the whole idea, like, how do you engage? Uh, I don't want to say respect because I feel like that's a real subjective word. At least I'm learning like respect is really subjective because I use that word a lot with my kids, and my wife will be like, like what does respect mean to me? And so like compliance versus discipline versus like, especially when you talk about like teens bucking back, they see you as a op. Like, how do you navigate those waters of discipline, compliance, respect, those three things kind of like circling around when you got a team that's starting to use their voice, that's starting to feel like they got their own identity and their own goals and wants? Like, how do you navigate that?
I came on this podcast for you to tell me how I'm supposed to do
Uh,
that.
uh,
Hey, somebody's out there listening.
uh,
Help. Help. Hey, how you navigate that, man? This is how I've been navigating.
hey man, it's hey, that piece it's a cold piece, man. Trying to figure out. I think it's more so like really sitting down with yourself with no kids around and just really trying to dive into, do I want compliance? And like answering that question, like seriously, you got to sit down with yourself and be like, do I want compliance? And if the answer is yes, then the question becomes why? Why is compliance important to me? Versus the other end of that, which isn't, you know, that your kids need to comply. You want them to learn. You want them to do the thing. Learn to don't touch the stove because it's hot. Don't be in a space where it's like, nah, I said don't touch it, so don't touch it. Because we have now, I think our community, it views disrespect as like non-compliant. You know what I'm saying? Like if you really think about it, like if a kid don't do something somebody else told them to do, oh, that kid is disrespectful because they're not being compliant. I think it's about like sitting down and asking that question. That's one I think just sits dormant in fatherhood because we have aggression, we have masculinity that it's like, man, I want you to do what I tell you because there's something else attached to that, which my wife will be like, is it power? And I'm like, oh God, like,
And it's crazy when you can combine that with what you said, the question in the beginning, with those things that were passed down. Like, do you pack?
yeah,
I was raised like that. We was all
yeah,
raised like that. I mean, the most masculine person I knew was my mom.
yeah,
My mom was. If you want to talk about masculinity, my mom was masculine and whoop your ass. And she's the nicest lady.
yeah,
She's the sweetest lady now. But she was the most masculine person I knew. And you talk about non-compliance, man. Like if in the church, if you do something you ain't supposed to be doing, if you ain't compliant, man,
You just getting popped.
them old masculine ladies will jump you.
Yeah,
You
you
get
got popped.
beat by every person on the way back to your mom.
Yeah,
So, we was kind of like taught that. And I like how you confronting that, like questioning, do I
yeah,
want compliance? And then why? And so out of that sometimes could come a more fitting solution for the problem versus just going straight to non-compliant. Where's the bill? Non-compliant. Where's
yeah.
I'm striking my hammer. I'm striking this fist. Boom.
We've been talking about this, man, a lot in the last couple sessions, but it's because it instills fear. Fear creates immediate response, right? So if you think about compliance and you think about immediacy, those things are like cousins, right? Compliance wants it to be immediate. That means you did exactly what I said to do, when I said do it, and how I said. So fear-based parenting is something that, you know, I grew up with that. And so now as a parent myself, I have these conflicting moments where not where I'm about to, I'm not going to put a belt to my kids or do that because I just made a conscious decision not to do that. But I do struggle with like just today, I asked my son to do something like 10 times. And after like the sixth time, I was feeling myself just like I was gone. Like I was too frustrated. I couldn't focus. I was irritated. I'm irritable because I want him to just do it. And but what's crazy is in me sitting in that, he's still playing, he's still having fun. We trying to go to school in the morning. He's still having fun doing all the things while I'm sitting over here in this like negative space. I'm so irritated because like you're not being compliant, bro. Like you're not doing what I'm telling you to do. And he ain't thinking about that, man. All he thinking is like, yo, man, I'm just trying to I'm trying to, play with this little thing one more time before I go to school. So it's really hard to interrogate compliance, fear, fear based, because that's what we got. But it's like we got to make conscious decisions on, because the reality is like you gotta look at where we at now. Like, what did that do to me? And I we talked about that prior. Was I was saying things like when I'm interacting with other people as an adult, I can look at some of the gaps where I don't have the skill set, and because I didn't get that. I was just based off of fear. I was based off of compliance. So if my dad said do the thing, I did the thing. I didn't ask him why. Can I do it differently? I got a different idea. I don't want to do it your way. Like, let's try it my way. Because I would have got the no, I would have got the like all the things. But now you fast forward, like as an adult, now I got to navigate grown up, other grown people, and I might get to a point where it's like my negotiation skills ain't what they could be because I never got the practice. So, you know, it's like, when do you use it? How do you feel like you are somebody who wants to do some of those other things, but it's too hard, or you just kind of go with the flow of like, if the moment calls for compliance, then it's compliance. And, you know,
Man, those moments where you need compliance, where I need compliance, it'd be like quick result. I need those quick results. I need immediate results because I feel like I'm a busy person. And so being busy, sometimes parenting feels like this is my fifth or sixth job.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then when they're not listening, you feel like, wait, I'm managing time in my head. And so I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have time to tell you the same thing over and over and over. I
mm,
don't have time to argue with you. I don't have the time. So now I need immediate boom because I don't even have no
mm,
relief in my schedule.
because you're out of time. But now let me ask you this. You said you need the immediacy because you busy, you don't have the time. Well, do you think on your part, you can do a better job of managing that time, preparing for that time, so that way you don't have to use the escape button of hitting compliance because I need it right now? Because the reality is I didn't prep it like I could have, right? Like,
Bro, you couldn't have said you really couldn't have said it better. Like, even thinking about that, I was just considering I don't have a special day where I set aside things that I like, values and morals that I know I need to be instilling, where we're just talking about that. Not when it's a reaction, but it's a proaction. This is just something that we do. Boom. And now that we're having this conversation, I'm like, you know what? I think I might have to implement that. Like once a week, man, about 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes, we need to just go over this in a certain type of way where you guys can just digest it when I'm not irritated because I need quick results. When you're not irritated because you're not in the mood to hear it, or you know it all in this moment, or because you feel like I can't take it from you because you're the way you're delivering it. So like that, man, that's on point right there. That's on point. I
and
like that.
also too, like the needs that our kids have, right? Because I think we and myself, I do this all the time, like dismiss my kids' needs because I'm the parent, they're the kid, right? So like if you think about if you think about like, take your the moments that you talk about where you gotta rush, you need the compliance. I'm thinking about the morning with my kid. Like if I pause, what my kid needs, his need is he's still got some play in him that he ain't able to get out before I take him off to school or whatever the case may be. And my need is, I won't even call it a need. My want is I'm trying to get you out the door because the sooner I get you to school, the sooner I get back, I can do the things I need to do. So now the question is, do we also pause, or that moment you're talking about where you set aside the 30 minutes, the 45 minutes to really talk through, like, what is it you need in those moments? Because clearly there's a need that's unmet on your end, there's a need that's unmet on my end. And like, what is the need that sits there? Because I think we just kind of dismiss it. Because I dismiss his needs to play all the time. Like, bro, I gave you an extra 15. Well, that 15, he about to be 5, so he ain't about to sit and be like, Dad, that extra 15 ain't enough. So it's on me to kind of look at him and think through the situation. Like, maybe I gotta wake this dude up a little earlier so he can play longer. You know what I'm saying? Like now he can get that whole playtime out before I leave. So like in your situation, you guys sit, you talk for the 30 minutes about like, yo, when dad's trying to go do this thing and you ain't doing it, what is you need in that moment? Like, is it that you need to, whatever it is, but I think that's an important piece too. Like,
Hey, listen, this is a perfect example of needs right here. Cause my son sees that I'm on the podcast with you and he's sneaking off in the corner trying to get my attention. Talking about, dad. And I'm like, do you see me on the podcast? Hold on just one second.
yeah, hey, so you see what I'm saying? Like, we got to think about like that need situation. So even
Mhm.
this in this situation, he needs some validation or something, right? I think it's deeper. It's so much deeper because there's so many elements connected, and it really do require like constant repetition. It requires like having conversations with other people to kind of bring it back to the surface because, it's like, man, I struggle with these things all the time, bro. Like compliance, power, and the power don't look the same. When I ain't talking about power, like the same power, in the workplace and dealing with adults, but power is on the table, compliance is on the table, understanding their needs, that's on the table versus my needs slash wants. So it's a deep thing, man. Like something that we got to talk through more, as dads.
Nah, definitely, man. Shoot, even considering some of the things that some of the philosophy of their needs versus my need for compliance. That shit that make you feel like a bad parent.
Well,
Like, hold on,
I mean,
man. We go.
the goal ain't,
We can't
nah,
air this. We can't air this episode, man. That's the angry
hey,
black man that
nah,
don't care about his kids' needs.
it's no, it's real talk. It's something I think a lot of dads, like, we face that because we all do hold some of that like respect, especially in a black community. Like we hold respect at a different level, but respect also means that you're doing what you're told to do. And so if we never peel it back, that's where it stops. You peel it back, you're like, what is being told to do me? You being compliant. What is compliance connected to? Well, that's connected to, power. It's connected to like immediate results. It's connected to all these other things. And we just we gotta explore it, man. We gotta like set it on the table, bro, and be able to talk about it. Let's see. Is there something that you feel has been really present right now with your kids, like an issue maybe that you guys navigate or that you're navigating just as a dad with them right now?
Getting up for school on time without me having to wake them up, and implementing these being responsible for around the house. I think, man, I was kind of like you. Like I try to stay away from hammering down with the belt, but I think stayed away from making chores like a practice because I was so busy, because I didn't take the time to like manage if you're doing it right all the time, or
Yeah.
if you messed up, then I'll do it myself when I can, or hire a hire a maid or whatever the case
Yeah.
is, a cleaning business, and have them come through and take care of it, or I take care of myself when I can. And now I'm seeing like that I'm seeing that might have been an error. And
How so?
not the belt part, but at least implementing,
Yeah.
chores.
And how so? Like how you see it as an error?
Well, because you don't have like a sense of responsibility. And when it comes time to doing something that you don't want to do, you feel like every time you do a chore, you're building that muscle up of the delayed gratification of having a clean environment versus it's going to take energy to do that. And so I'd rather go play a video game or look at my phone or ignore it completely for something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
And
a
so I feel like I might have did a disservice to my youngins, not helping them use that muscle, that delayed gratification muscle of doing a chore. Like I gotta I gotta take this action so I can have a clean environment. And clean environment feels good. That's the delayed gratification. You don't get to get that feeling because you don't want to delay it. You want to get it now. And
yeah.
so instead you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to struggle in that area.
Right. So like how do we have the conversations with them to understand the importance of why? Like why we need to do this? Because my kids would be like, man, I don't want to clean this, or you know, I didn't make that mess. And it's like, yo, I didn't make none of your messes, but I
Right.
still gotta clean them up because this is the impact of it. So I think that's always a tough one with kids. And you kind of hit it on the head a little bit earlier, but you gotta show kids exactly what you want them to do. Like sometimes we'd be like, I'll go clean the kitchen. Man, they ain't never, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, they go wash the dishes, wipe the counter down real quick. It's still food over, somewhere and crumbs over here. They ain't sweep the floor. And it's like, yo, sometimes you got to sit and be like, let me show you exactly what I mean when I say clean. So that way there's no, there is no difference of definition of when I say clean this thing, this is what I'm expecting. So the expectations are clear. But also, man, kids' executive functioning is not it's not always there, bro. I need to show you one. We need to talk about why cleaning is important for everybody, how to do it the right way. And three, what is what's the boundaries around if you don't do it? You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't do it,
Yeah.
let's talk through
Hey,
what happens.
that's good game. That's good game right there because and that goes back to what we was talking about, like being a good teacher, like making that time where we're actually going over some of maybe the problems that we had this weekend, and then now we're going to talk about how we solve some of these constant issues that always come up, or some things that might be helpful so we can avoid any problems, any regular problems that I might experience, or they might be experiencing in the future.
Hmm.
Nah, that's excellent, man.
Yeah.
I think that's a dope area that I need to step my game up in, is being a good teacher, man. Being a
I
real
mean,
good
hey,
teacher.
me too though. Me too, because
Yeah.
it's connected to what I experienced. But like, if I tell my kids to clean up the room, clean up the playroom, they don't clean it up. Then the next day they looking for something. They can't find it. What I want to say is like, see, if you clean up the room, we'll be able to find these things. And that's the wrong approach. So I think trying to have that sit down, I think especially with older kids, like I don't have older kids, so I think there's so much more room for you to be able to have like conversations because they're old enough to be like, yeah, let's talk through like what's the boundaries? Like when I ask you to do this, if you don't do it, how should we handle that situation? To include him or them in that conversation. So now it creates more of a conversational dynamic as opposed to like again compliance and all of that. You don't do this, then I'm
Yeah,
gonna do that. I'm gonna
yeah,
take away
yeah.
that game. When then you take the game away, he ain't thinking about the cleaning no more. All he thinking about is I don't get to play my game. And now I'm mad because I can't get on with my boys and like get online and play the game. The whole message about cleaning ain't there. The message is what's message is clear is my game gonna get taken if I don't do this. But that it's not a clear message of like, yo, like let's talk through, like what do you think? What you think should happen? And then just because I ask you what you think don't mean we're gonna roll with that, but I'm gonna include you in it. Does that
I
mean
like that.
the weekend that next weekend you got something planned? Does that mean you ain't going to that? So now let's talk through the options. No game, no go do this. So now it's very clear on the choice and the outcome of not making that choice.
Yeah, nah, I feel that. Man, I like that, man, because you talk about them boundaries, man. Sometimes you don't talk about the boundaries until you upset, and then
Do you
like,
you make one on the fly?
yeah, you making boundaries on the fly, man.
We just got to have more conversations, and also we got to conversate more as dads, like talking through some of this stuff, because it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
present.
and see, as dads in, but I like what you're doing. This the approach you're talking about is like one of a self, like self checking, like why, like boom, and what do I want right here? Is this what I want? I want compliance, and then man, you start to see like, oh well, like I just said, I think I could be a better teacher. And so
Yeah,
now you have to now I'm charged with solving that problem. How do I be a better teacher?
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
You raised the question, is it something that you could have did better? Like, oh yeah, I don't
yeah,
think I made time to properly walk them through that. And then I just had an expectation
yeah,
after I showed you once or twice or three times or four times, like or
yeah,
five times or six times. Then you start to feel crazy and then you forget to be a teacher.
yeah, yeah. That self learning is ongoing because some days gonna be better than others. You know what I'm saying? Like you might do it perfectly on Monday, and then Friday come, and it's like, man, we didn't took a exit and reverted back to what we know what's the word I'm looking for? What's convenient, and we revert back to that, and that's okay. It's just a matter of what we do after that point. So I mean, I'm hoping that when my kids get your age, man, I continue having like these conversations, and I mean, it's one thing for me to be able to talk to you about it and be like, here's what I think is beneficial because I'm trying to practice it with my kids, but when they get older, it's a whole new level of stuff that they're gonna be bringing that I got to navigate that I'm not familiar with, like you.
Yeah, man. I think one thing that I could say is that my kids to come talk to me, and I think that that's when they're a teenager. I think that's like a big thing because it's it's your kids in the world. So now it's your kids against the world. And you have all these different influences, you have all these different problems that they're gonna face. And sometimes if your kids can't talk to you, you don't know what's gonna happen when you send them out there. And I think just that time over accuracy, that's what I know that has been a benefit for me with my youngins. Like they'll talk to me about anything.
Yeah, no, that's important. That time over accuracy is important because you continue to build like an open door, a place that your kids can come to because they say, man, like if your kids don't come to you, they go on to somebody else, and whether that's their friends, whether that's their friends' parents, whether that's their friends, whether that's the internet, whether that's all the things like they gonna get answers or they gonna get something. It may not be the most sound advice, so you'd rather they come to you. You know what I'm saying? And so like creating those avenues of communication and um A big one is not putting that fear piece in there. Like that fear can either implode because then your kids are like, man, I ain't coming. Like they make a mistake, I ain't coming to my dad, man. 'Cause I already know. If I tell him what I just did or I tell him what happened, like it's gonna be craziness. As opposed to like, I know I can come to my dad and tell him like, yo, man, this is what happened. I made this mistake. Like, let's process through it. Let's get through it. As we navigate these, talking about all these factors, man, you got, you working on a film. You want to tell us a little bit about what the film is and
Yeah, definitely. I'm writing a film, or I wrote a film called Black Dads, and it's kind of about everything that we talked about. It's about the struggle of some fathers coming together to help one dad prevent his son from crashing out. He don't want to lose his son to the street. So all the other dads come together, and yeah, they have to reconnect with their inner childhood, because the only way that they're going to stop the young man from crashing out or losing him to the streets is by actually knowing what's going on in the streets and finding out what to do to prevent him from losing his life. And so it's kind of like a comedy slash drama. So you can call it like a dramedy. And some of the things that we're talking about fathering, man, is
yeah.
is woven in.
And that's what I was going to ask you. What is it that you're hoping people get out of it?
I think one of the big ones, we'll say two things from what we just talked about. I'll refer back to those: time over accuracy, and then what was the other one? I just had it. Time over accuracy, and give me another highlight of what we just talked about.
I mean, we talked about compliance, power. We talked about, uh, you know,
So there you go. I needed to hear that compliance. So why we do the things that we do, the things that the conflict or baggage that we come with as fathers, that we can pass down, or that can prevent us from being our best selves, or our best parent for our child. So I think those two are the big things: is time over accuracy, and the baggage that you come with as a man to parenting.
got you. And
Yeah.
when do you hope to have this available and out?
Oh, guaranteed. So right now we're in pre-production. Like I said, the film's already wrote. So we're just assembling the crew and, going over our budget and going from there. So
Okay.
look, you could look for a first quarter of 2026, man. I'm gonna have to come back on, man, for a special show, man, right before it's on.
Oh yeah, for
So we
sure.
can remind them to go check that out.
For sure, for sure. Okay. So then as we kind of just like think through reflection, some of the things that we talked about, what would you say fatherhood has taught you about yourself this year?
Thanks, shoot, kind of what I just said, man. There's some areas, there's some things I come with, there's some things I come to parenting with that I don't need. There's some things I might have inherited indirectly from my mom, or from something that I didn't get. Some things I picked up and I brought to parenting that I don't need as a person. And it is okay to recognize those things, and it's never too late to change.
And then what do you hope your kids remember about the way you showed up?
The waterboarding,
Hey,
so they are compliant
crazy.
right now. I need immediate results now. Man, I hope they just remember, man, my dad had my back, man. My dad was there for me, man. My dad had my back. He cared. He wanted me the best version of myself. He wanted me to be happy. My dad cared.
Got you. Okay, well, man, shoot, man, we always got a signature question at the very end of the show. This is from Dad with Love, as you know. So, if there's one thing that you would pass on to another dad with love, what would it be?
And time over accuracy. And man, I wasn't around my pops like that, or my dad, when I was growing up, man. But I was like, man, they kept telling me about this mythical character, man. Like I had this crazy ideas about who this guy really was, man. I was like, damn, you can't take me on the adventures. I'm not tripping. Let me be the Robin, like just
Yeah,
anything. Like just let me get a dose, man. So if anything I could say, man, is that time over accuracy, man.
nice. Well, shoot, man, thanks for being on the show. I think just helping us kind of talk through some really present elements of fatherhood that I think a lot of dads navigate through that a lot of us don't talk about. When we think about things like compliance, we think about time over accuracy. I think sometimes a lot of dads feel like the accuracy got to be there, and so we'll be hard on ourselves for mistakes that we make during parenting. But it's also never too late, man. It's never too late. As long as we got kids, we can always pivot and shift how we do something. And I think you were an example of that in this whole conversation of being able to talk about some of the things you might want to do with your sons in the future. So, man, I appreciate you being on. We definitely got to have you back so we could talk about when the film
Guaranteed.
is ready to come out.
Guaranteed. Yeah, we gonna, man. Soon as this canned and everything, I'm coming back on, man. Let you know where to go get it, man. But nah, I appreciate you for having me. This is dope, man. We need more stuff like this, man. This is really the movie. Black Dad's right here, man.
Yeah. Hey, Black Dad's right here, man, in action. So until next time, man, thanks for being on and look forward to having you back. If you enjoyed this episode and found some moments that you could take away, please share this with another dad. And remember, it's not about being perfect, it's just about being present. Till next time.